Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Arsenal Ramble, where today we're doing an instant match reaction show following the massive 3-2 win over Bournemouth at the Emirates this afternoon. Wow, I can't even get my words together. But to help me do that, I've got my fellow Rambler, Dave. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, honestly, I know I say this every time we do a win, but absolutely buzzing. Like I thought we threw it away there, 2-0. I was honestly thinking the worst, but unbelievable. We've done it again. Another clutch. That's three this season, isn't it? Man United, Villa, and now today. Three clutch last minute goals to get us the win. We don't do it often, but wow, it doesn't have to send you through the ringer, does it? But yeah, how are you, mate?
I don't think my heart can take much more of these last-minute winners, to be honest. Against Aston Villa, I thought that was bad enough, and I thought nothing's going to top that, at least for a long time. And then literally a couple of games later, we have this happen in the 97th minute. It's just
Mm.
unfathomable how incredible it is and how much it means to our season. I'm just absolutely speechless. And just a caveat for this show, it is literally 10 minutes after the final whistle has gone. So if we do miss anything, then please forgive us. But yeah, we're going to get our teeth stuck right into it now, okay?
Mm. Yeah, man, let's do it. Should we start with
Let's,
the team sheets as always?
yeah. We'll start with the team sheets. There was a few different personnel in today. We had Tomiyasu come in for Ben White at right back, which was a bit of a questionable decision. But to be honest, we all think that Tomiyasu is more than competent and maybe Ben White needed a bit of a rest. So I was fairly happy with that. We also had Partey come back in for Jorginho, which was massive. It does really show that second half that he got brought on against Everton the other day. It was a pre-planned substitution to get him up to speed. So were you happy to see Partey come back into the fold?
Oh, yeah, he's instrumental, isn't he? I can't wax lyrical enough about Partey. Um, he's just so crucial to the way we play, and I think by having Partey in the team allowed us to be a little bit more experimental with that Xhaka role, because
Mm.
obviously this is the first time we've seen Vieira come into that position, and I don't think it would necessarily work with a if Jorginho was in the Partey role. I don't think you could afford to have a Vieira and an Odegaard alongside him. Don't think that would quite work. So I think we're seeing the early signs of the next evolutional step of this Arsenal team. I think Arteta has always had his eye on that number 8 role that Xhaka plays, and he sees goals in them, and we've seen that from Xhaka at times this season, and it's sort of tapered off a little bit. Probably partly because of Jesus not being in the team and just that left side not being as strong. But I think we are seeing the first sort of signs that this is how Arteta sees the next step for this team. He sees goals and creativity from that number 8. And yeah, by having Partey back in the team, it's allowed us to
Mm.
experiment with that for the first time. And yeah, so yeah, I'm so glad that he's back, and hopefully we can keep him fit for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you definitely feel like with Partey coming back in and against a team like Bournemouth, where you feel like they shouldn't cause us too many problems, you want to have Partey to be able to hold down that midfield and then give all the license to the number 8 role to be able to be progressive with an Odegaard and Trossard and Martinelli. And for all of Xhaka's qualities, he's not the most mobile player, and he makes a great
Mm,
pass here and there. But what we've seen in recent games is Zinchenko steps into that role, and it's almost like having two of the same player in the same sort of area of the pitch. So to have Vieira getting tried out in that position is really interesting, and might be. And then even later on, we saw Smith Rowe, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Also went into that kind of area, coming in off the wings and things. So yeah,
mm,
the front three was also unchanged, so it does seem like
mm,
Arteta's enjoying this idea of having the free-flowing attackers. I think Nketiah's injured, isn't he? So he wasn't available for the game
yeah.
anyway. But it shows that he's putting his full faith in those three, wide forwards, but they can all play across the front line, can't they? So,
yeah, it's a big loss actually. And Nketiah going out injured with this ankle injury, because that's both our natural number nines now missing. And with the games coming thick and fast, with the Europa League fixtures and whatnot, I'm starting to worry a little bit. Obviously, we don't know the severity too much with Nketiah's ankle injury. I think it's sort of been managed over the last month or so, just because we needed him. It's got to the point now where it was affecting his performances. We've got a Trossard that's able to play this number 9 position, and it sort of worked pretty well. So it's probably about time we gave him that proper recovery now, and hopefully it won't be too long. Because no natural number 9 is a little bit of a worry. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely think it could be a bit worrying, especially when we've got the Europa League and all these extra games and midweek fixtures, and they're coming thick and fast now, aren't they? Especially with the World Cup break, meaning that we've got so many games all bunched together. And also, as we saw later on, Trossard went off injured, so we might end up being light in that area. But then you've got the likes of Jesus coming back, so he might be able to plug that hole. But it is always a loss to lose a player like Nketiah. So should we get stuck right into the game then? The time that it's taken me to formulate this sentence is also the time that it took for us to concede our first goal. 9 seconds it took on the clock before we went 1-0 down to Bournemouth. What on earth happened there, Dave?
Oh, this has gone down as the second fastest goal ever scored in the Premier League. It's hard to say what went wrong. I think essentially what Bournemouth did is they sort of fake dummied by the way that all of their starting 11 they pushed to one side of the pitch, didn't they? And left that one. I can't remember the name of the player now, but the one wide player out on the far right. Arsenal bought it, and we heavily went to that same side and matched them, which obviously exposed our left-hand side to acres of space. So if that player were to get the ball, which he obviously did, it enabled him a bit of a free run to get the ball in the box. And, it was a bit of a fluky goal at the end of the day. It was not quite pinball, but you know what I mean? It sort of took a few little ricochets in there. And I don't want to put too much blame on them. It was just, I think it was just a little bit of a switch off moment and falling for their sort of quite clever, really, starting phase, because we're so used to teams like this just hoofing it towards the corner flag and then hoping that they can get a throw in. Sorry, either way, or it's our throw in, their throw, and it's still in the opposition's final third. So that tends to be what teams do. So we fell for that and exposed ourselves essentially.
Yeah, it was a really clever play by them, really, to be honest, wasn't it? And it definitely caught us off guard. I don't know if that's a bit of naivety in our team to not be switched on right from the off, but somewhere where we've been really praising Arsenal this season is our fast starts and how we put teams under pressure straight away. And it kind of is all pointless if you then concede straight away, because then that team that you're against is going to sit back and hold on to that for the rest of the game. We knew that Bournemouth were going to come to Arsenal, especially away from home, a team that's struggling in the relegation zone. They're going to scrap and try and hold out for a draw and then maybe potentially nick a goal. And that's the game plan. That's the setup for teams like that. So for them to get a goal pretty much straight away, they're going to hold on to that for dear life. And then it becomes attack versus defense pretty much instantly. But I think the only silver line on the cloud in that moment was the fact that it was 9 seconds in. And I think everyone was still pretty confident at that moment that we're going to have an onslaught and potentially get a goal back. What we saw following that, though, is a lot of possession. I think in the first half, we had 86% possession to their 14. We moved the ball about nicely. We had a few little opportunities here and there, but we really were struggling to break them down, weren't we?
Yeah, massively. And this is something that we're going to have to get used to now, because teams, they know they can't free flow and attack us, because it just opens them up too much. They're going to be playing these low blocks. And to be honest, we were quite patient and persistent. And let's be like, we had 85% of the ball, like you said, and we were knocking on the door. There weren't many clear cut chances in the first half, but you know, games like this, sometimes you just got to be patient, and if that means second half goals, then so be it. And obviously we'll come on to it a bit later, but you could see how tired the Bournemouth players got in that second half. There's only so long you can play that low block before errors start to happen.
Mm.
The only annoying thing is we were 1-0 behind. So in the back of the Arsenal player's mind, you've got that mounting pressure of a 1-0 behind. And even if we were to get the equaliser, that's still going to mean they're going to be playing a low block because they're happy with the point, So it's a psychological battle more than the abilities of our players, I think. And it's something that we have certainly improved on this season. And I think it's something that we'll continue to improve on as our players grow and develop and get more experience. Because let's not forget that they're one of the youngest teams in the league.
Yeah, exactly. But so we did actually manage to have a fairly decent chance, actually, that fell to Martin Odegaard just outside the box, who rifles it towards the bottom corner. And Neto actually makes a pretty smart save. This was not long after we actually conceded our first goal. And then Saka on the rebound, it also gets saved frustratingly. But this was kind of the tail of the half. We had a fair few decent opportunities, none that were really clear cut, shots from outside the box, passing it left and right. But then we were vulnerable on the counter. I think Ramsdale made an unbelievable save in the first half, where they were running down on us. It was 3v1 at the back, and they passed it across to Ramsdale, who it looked harder to miss this shot. And then Ramsdale makes himself big, gets a save, and it looks slightly offside the initial run, but we weren't to know that, and he really did keep us in the game after that moment.
Yeah, I thought that there was a few chances that they had that where Ramsdale pulled out clutch saves that could have been marginally offside. The footage I was seeing, they didn't really sort of go into detail of whether it was offside or draw the lines or anything like that. I guess there's no point if there's no need. So it's hard to know for sure how clutch those saves were, but nonetheless, Ramsdale doesn't know, so he has to make those saves. And that it was on 20th minutes in, so it's a crucial time. You go 2-0 down then, and heads start to drop. So I think Ramsdale had an amazing game. What was more frustrating for me though was the fact that our defense was just so shaky all game almost. Every attack that Bournemouth were having was resulting in a pretty decent effort on goal. And I guess that's sort of part of the way we were attacking and leaving ourselves exposed a little bit by, throwing men the other end of the field. But yeah, it was a little bit worrying at times.
Yeah, I've got to agree. And I think a big part of that was probably Tomiyasu, just because he overcommitted quite a lot whilst Zinchenko was also pushing up the pitch as he likes to. And unfortunately, Tomiyasu, he lost the ball quite a few times on that right flank. And then when we had both of our fullbacks up the pitch, the Bournemouth players are then breaking just against Saliba and Gabriel. And we did leave ourselves exposed to a counter-attack. But as you say, I think we were just trying to overcommit to be able to get that goal back, because when you're 1-0 down, you want to equalise as soon as possible to then try and win the game. But it did look a bit of a shambles defensively in the first half. But one big moment that we actually did have as well in the first half, which is going to be a theme of this podcast, is we had a handball shout in the box. And to me, it looked like a clear handball. it hits they say it hits the top of his arm. So we're talking around the tricep area, kind of area, and but he actually moves his arm into the ball, which is the telling factor. Whereas if it does just hit his arm, this is when the ball is dropping down in the box. That one, because there's quite a few to talk about. So the ball was dropping down in the penalty box, and he jumps up. He's not pushed or anything. So he's not falling over. So there's no chance that it's for him breaking his fall or anything. His arm is above his head, and it lands on the top of his arm, and it's not given. Now, my only bugbear with this is whenever they do offsides, for example, they measure the lines by the armpit and the top of the shoulder. So how, when the ball hits further down the arm than there, is that not given as a penalty? It just baffles me.
Yeah, because if that's technically a part of the body that you can play the ball with, then it's a part of the body that you can be offside with too, because you could technically score with that part of the body. So yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm trying to not be as, trying to not be biased, but I think if that were vice versa and on the other end, I don't think I'd be very happy with that being given as a penalty against us. He's definitely clumsy, no doubt about it. But I don't think he's intentionally tried to win the ball with his arm. Personally, I think of all of the handball shouts that we've had today, I don't think that was the most concrete of penalties, if you will. But there definitely were some ones later on that I thought were more so for sure.
If it's given, it's not overturned, though, is it?
Sorry?
I said if that's given by the ref, it's not overturned, is it?
No, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? It's sort of what the on-field decision is at the time, and they're never going to make you go to the monitors for one of that. It's not clear and obvious at the end of the day. So I don't know. I quite like refereeing like that. I don't like them giving soft penalties away left, right, and centre. It's something. There's something a bit, about it. So I quite liked the way the ref managed that situation personally.
Yeah, I do understand that. However, when you see in other games where we have refereeing decisions given against us for soft penalties, then you want it to at least be consistent. So I'm not an advocate for wanting to win soft penalties and have these soft fouls given to us. But as I say, they get given against us. So why should we not be able to have a level playing field and be able to get them as well? But yeah, I guess maybe it might not have been a penalty, but there was another opportunity in the first half for a penalty as well, where Bournemouth player kicked through the back of Tomiyasu's foot in the box. Now, that again, I think that could have maybe been a penalty, but then it would have gone down to the on-field ref's decision. But it, as you say, if it was given against us, then I would have been a little bit annoyed about. So
exactly, yeah, there was nothing mega concrete, was there? And nothing you can gripe at too much, but yeah, frustrating nonetheless, because we were trying to get back into the game and we're sort of hoping for anything, aren't we? At that point, I think even towards the latter stages of the second half, Zinchenko rifled a shot in. It went nowhere near the player's hand, and he's shouting handball.
yeah,
It's just sort of like we've got to try it. And sometimes that's just how it is. But yeah, it's just one of them. One thing I do want to mention is this Trossard injury on 20th minute, on 20 minutes in. Sorry. How serious did that look? Because I didn't quite see the initial contact or anything like that, and those are the ones that scare me more. Where it's something like he's pulled up through a strain or something like that. Do you think this is something that could keep him sidelined for long, or?
Yeah, it's always worse when you don't see any contact, because it's not just going to be like an impact injury. It could be like a muscular strain or a pull, or as you say, like a twist of your ligaments, maybe. So I don't know. I didn't really see it either. I just saw him lying on the floor, and then they said, "Oh, Smith Rowe's coming on." I thought, "Hang on a minute, what's happened here?" I didn't even see a challenge. So it is quite worrying if he's had to go on, because that's obviously not in the game plan to bring off Trossard 20 minutes in. So yeah, to be losing one of our top players in a forward position when we're already down Nketiah and down Jesus, it does leave us quite light, and we've got a lot of games coming up. So it does worry me quite a bit.
Yeah, I thought Smith Rowe played quite well though. In his absence, I thought he did quite well, and it was clear from the later substitution, because obviously Smith Rowe got substituted on and substituted off, something you don't see very often. But it was sort of clear that maybe Arteta had a certain amount of minutes in mind for Smith Rowe in this game, and I think he took those minutes well. I think he showed progress in his match fitness essentially, and he looked really sharp. So that's encouraging, at least. I know it's never nice to see an injury to one of your players, but I guess the silver lining is we've got a Smith Rowe hopefully able to help cover.
Yeah, exactly. So we went into half time 1-0 down, but as I said, we had the 86% possession, and we looked like we were knocking on the door, and Bournemouth, for their couple of chances, didn't really seem too dominant. And we were hoping we were going to come out of the blocks in the second half, right our wrongs of the first half, get a nice, quick, easy early goal, and then be able to progress and win the game. And we'd all skip along the street happy. But that is not what happened. We struggled a little bit early in the second half, and then we got sucker punched again. 2-0 Bournemouth. Now, do you want to talk about this goal?
Not really, to be honest. Essentially, the corner gets swung in, doesn't it? Senesi gets free from Partey. I think that's the best way of describing it, really, and heads home. It's just frustrating, really, because of how many corners did we have in this game? I mean, without knowing the statistical number, I'm guessing it's at least 15, at least, maybe even more. This is their first corner, their only real promising set piece in the whole game, and they capitalised from it. It's just such a sucker punch. And at that point, 2-0 down, even though there's still, I think it was the 61st minute, so there's still a good chunk of time to play. But I was just a bit like, is this going to be one of those days? Are we going to get beat heavily by one of the worst teams in the league? So yeah, it was a real sucker punch.
Yeah, I completely agree. When it was 1-0, I was really confident and hopeful, thinking that we might be able to get ourselves a leg back into the game, and then eventually maybe go on to win it, or at least get a draw or whatever. But yeah, as soon as that went in, it really knocked the wind out of my sails. I was sat there on my sofa thinking, oh God, like we're throwing it away to one of the worst teams in the league. Like we've gone from winning 3 on the bounce. We've got ourselves out of this rut. We should be really confident at home to a relegation fodder team. We should be winning this game, and we're throwing it away. And my friend Chris, who's quite infamous from this, from his pessimistic approach to Arsenal season, he actually sent me a message saying, well, that's it then. There's no way that Arsenal score 3.
I bet you'd be pretty glad to be proven wrong.
Oh, yeah. We spoke about it afterwards. He was like, you know what? I'm going to say that in the Man City game as well. And I hope he does. And I hope he gets proven wrong in that game as well. But yeah, as we saw, that was in the 60th minute that we went 2-0 down. And not long after, we had a cross come in, and it was met by Emil Smith Rowe, actually, who was at the side of the box, and he cushions the ball down really, really nicely for Thomas Partey, who's just waiting all alone at the back stick, gets any contact on the ball, and it goes in. 2-1. We're back in the game. What was your feelings at that moment?
Well, just relief more than anything, to be honest. Because if you're going to get anything out of the game, especially all 3 points, that's the time, the bare minimum you need to be scoring. And yeah, thankfully, yeah, this is caveats again. What I was saying about Smith Rowe, he played really, really well in that 30 minutes, and to get a cheeky little assist there as well, just to get it back into the mixer. I'm really happy for him, and obviously very happy for Partey as well, because you could argue that he was a little bit at fault for their second goal from the corner. Um, so a little bit of redemption there for him, in a way. So yeah, absolute elation. And that was sort of the starting moment, wasn't it? Really, where then the pressure really starts to build. You've got tired legs with Bournemouth, and it's just a case of, can we turn this pressure into goals?
Yeah, it certainly was the catalyst for us reigniting ourselves back into the game. And along with that also comes with a lot of time wasting from Bournemouth, which was so frustrating. But, as we saw later on, it actually benefited us. So I hope every team does that. But not long after that, I think Smith Rowe actually ended up getting substituted just before our second goal, because Reece Nelson then came on, didn't he? And to be fair to Reece Nelson, I discredited him earlier. I didn't actually name him in the list of 4 players that were going to become quite essential in the next few games because of obviously injuries to Nketiah and Jesus and now Trossard. But Reece Nelson, every time he's actually came in this season, he's looked electric, hasn't he? He's looked really bright.
Yeah, and I was saying this to my partner who I was watching the game with, because before Reece got his injury, his form was electric. He was playing really, really well. And one of the few games I've actually managed to watch this season, which we watched together, with the Brighton game, it was in the Carabao Cup, where unfortunately we lost. But Reece was one of the few players who really performed in that game. He actually managed to score the only goal for Arsenal that night as well. And I remember the day that he got injured this season. You could just see the disappointment on his face, because he knew that he was just starting to kick on, and he was just starting to put real solid performances in. And yeah, I was really disappointed for him when he got that injury. But then that comes with the sort of question mark: can this form still be there when he comes back from injury? And on today's evidence, you'd like to say, yeah, it's still there, because I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was direct, confident, and sometimes confidence isn't always a good thing, because you get your head down and you just get tackled after tackle. But his confidence was creating things. It was causing Bournemouth problems. And yeah, it was brilliant work from him for the Ben White goal. And what a goal for Ben White to bag his first for the Arsenal as well. Um, I knew that went in as well. The minute that shot went in, I was looking straight at the referee to point to the spot. I just knew that was going to go in. So I'm so chuffed for Reece and for Ben. It was a quality bit of play.
Yeah, there's not many better feelings than when you see an attempt like that, thinking in your mind, that's gone over the line. And then you see the ref point to his watch, obviously say it's vibrating, and then just go, woo! It's like, oh, yes, get in. That is unbelievable. And especially in a 10-minute period, we went from being 2-0 down, being down and out, game's gone, to bringing it back to level. And we've got a reinvigorated team. We've got Ben White on, who's scored his first goal, so he's going to be buzzing about that. And we looked like we were creating a lot more chances. And also, quite importantly, we weren't conceding as many opportunities for Bournemouth, because that was a threat in the first half. So it was good that we managed to stamp that out mostly in the second half. And then we brought it back to 2-2. You got 20 minutes to go, and you're thinking, wow, we've really turned this around, and wow, we've got such an opportunity to make history here, because there's no doubt about it. If we do look back on the season and if we do end up winning the title, these are the sort of games that we're going to look at and say, Jesus Christ, we got 2 extra points here. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just the United, the Villa, and in this Bournemouth game combined is 6 points, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
6 points is huge, and that's just 3 games. So yeah, it is the stuff of, dare I say it, champions. But you know, I'd rather not be in this position in the first place and have a nice cruising 3-0 victory like we had away at their place. um, so yeah, but it's football. It doesn't always go the way you want it to. So I'm glad that we can adapt to the situation and still clutch these things. So yeah, and to score at 70th. I keep saying 70th, 70 minutes. Wow, can't speak today. Um, it still gives us plenty of time to get that winner, essentially. 20 minutes plus extra time is a big chunk of time to find that winner. So it gives us the psychological edge there as well. So if the floodgates weren't already open, they're now well and truly open.
Yeah.
And we really did pile on that pressure. It was, like you say, a lot of frustrating moments of time wasting from Bournemouth, which were really quite working effective as well to slow in our approach down. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, that was frustrating. But yeah, the floodgates were open, and we were really looking for that third, weren't we?
Yeah, and most notably between that 70th and the end of the game, we had so many opportunities and penalty shouts. We had one that was a push on Martinelli, which I think didn't really get looked at enough. He's going for the ball. He gets a definite shove in the back, and it's not given. And then I like to make notes during the game just so that I can recollect match events so that I don't forget them. And the next 3 bullet points on my notes are another handball. And then the next one is another handball. And then the third one, another handball. There were 3 in a row, quick fire handball shouts, which then obviously led to that Zinchenko one where it probably hit his chest and he's calling for it, because it's like, come on, you got law of averages, you got to give at least one of them. But I think 2 of these were quite clear, but then one of them was really obviously a handball and should have been given. I think that was when Saka, he brings the ball to the byline, he cuts it back, and the player actually sticks his elbow out, and the ball comes off the end of his elbow. So there's no debate there whereabouts on his arm it is. That's definitely in handball range, and it deflects off his elbow and onto the post and goes out. So why are these not being given?
Yeah, for me, that's the one that should have been given, for sure. I guess the referee just didn't see it, or that's it. That's the frustrating thing. If the referee doesn't see something, and then VAR want to look at it, they're not going to overrule it because it's not clear and obvious. But if the referee didn't see it, then he couldn't make an initial decision. I think it was one of those frustrating moments, which is sort of like a loophole in the system that doesn't quite connect the dots properly. So,
But then
yeah, I think
what
it's
I would sorry, what I just interjecting there. What I would say to that then is, how on earth are they then giving the Ben White foul on the keeper the other day, where the referee, there's no way that he saw it, and then VAR intervenes? I know that is a foul and shouldn't have been given, but it's the same difference, isn't it? You know, the referee's not seen it, so then VAR should interject. I've actually got on my bullet points on my notes. It says after the third handball, it says VAR man looks like he's not turned up for work today, because they say checking, but then it's like, if they're checking, how are they not giving that? It's as clear and obvious as a handball will ever be to me.
Yeah, it's like sometimes they just don't want to give goals. They want to take away goals that have basically, wonder goals like Trossard's the other day,
Mm.
and then also not give goals by taking away clear and obvious penalty decisions. It's like, why would they? Why would that ever want to be a thing? It's really hard to get your head wrapped around, to be honest. And I'm struggling to really understand it properly. But yeah, another frustrating one, and one you thought we really need at the time. It was like this could have been the moment, to get that
Yeah.
winner. So yeah, it was a bit of a kick to the face.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it did look like we were starting to struggle, and we got to the 90th minute, and you saw the fourth official put his time board up saying 6 minutes. I saw that Arteta was asking for 7, cheekily, but yeah, he gave 6 minutes, and pretty much instantly, as soon as he gave that 6 minutes, I think it was Smith on for Bournemouth. He goes down for about 45, 50 seconds. Feigning an injury, and then gets up and jogs straight after. And that was kind of like the story of the whole of the second half, with Bournemouth time wasting, keeper time wasting, all the players going down. And it is bittersweet. Well, no, it's not bittersweet. It is sweet justice for Arsenal. What happened in the 97th minute? The ball falls down to Reece Nelson on the edge of the box. Everybody's looking. He's been out of the team for so long. This is his moment to shine. He rifles the ball into the far corner. Oh my God, what a moment. I lost my mind. Arteta lost his mind. I just cannot believe that is the way that we won the game, especially it being at least a minute over the extra time because of them wasting time in the first minute of extra time. It was just, I think, the pinnacle of what you can expect from being a football fan in general. And that moment for me, inject it.
Icing on the cake. Yeah. Yeah, when that player went down, right when the time got added on, I was actually thinking to myself, great, you keep doing that, mate, because we're at a dead ball moment. There's no sort of momentum. When a player fakes an injury, it's normally to break up play and break the momentum. He was doing that at a period where, the momentum was in our favour, but it wasn't sort of like heavy pressing play. So all he was doing was adding on minutes to the game, making it 6, 7, 8 minutes, which gives us a bigger chunk of time to work with to try and find that winner. So really quite funny, and it's just karma at its finest, to be honest, for Reece to then score in the 98th, I think it was. Yeah, brilliant goal, and I loved his little touch as well, just to sort of drag it into his sort of area to strike the ball. Just what a finish! You're just seeing it fly past Neto as well. Oh, absolute elation.
Yeah, I was absolutely screaming when I saw it going. I was jumping up and down. I couldn't believe it, because it's just what a moment. You don't see that often in football. You don't see many last minute winners, but then for us to get that in that fashion from a player who's been out of the team, you just don't expect it from him. You don't expect us to score that goal, especially with how frustrating the whole afternoon had been. We'd literally been behind for a full hour in the game with no luck. And yeah, I'm so pleased for Reece Nelson. I'm so pleased for Arsenal, because that's going to give him real confidence going forward into our future games. And if he starts on Thursday, then I'll be happy with that. I would definitely be having him in the starting lineup against Lisbon, because he's absolutely earned it after that performance.
Yeah, that's a really good shout, actually. One that I hadn't thought about. But yeah, I think that is probably firmly planted himself a starting position for the game against Sporting Lisbon on Thursday. And yeah, he deserves it. Fully deserves it. I think he's been great this season. It's just a shame about his injuries. But hopefully, in these Europa League games that we've got, he can show what he can do. Because he really was a huge threat from the bench today, and I'm so happy for him.
Yeah. So looking at the league table now, unfortunately, Newcastle didn't manage to take any points off Manchester City, but all in all, it's a good weekend, because it was so essential we won that game, because we're now one game closer. We've got the same 5 points difference between us and Manchester City. We're now sat on 26 games each. We're on 63, they're on 58. So we're in the last 12 games of the season with a 5 point gap. that is something that any team would love to bite your hand off for at the start of the season. So we're doing so well. And for us to be able to get a win in that manner as well, it is such a great feeling with Arsenal. And it's that never say die attitude, isn't it? That the players, they don't give up. They keep going and going, and they just genuinely feel like they're going to score. And I'm starting to believe that now, especially after Villa and especially after this game today. I don't feel like we're going to lose. I feel like it's not over till it's actually over. And it's so nice to have that full belief in your team that they're going to have an opportunity and more than likely score.
Yeah, we do seem to have that mental toughness, don't we? That resilience and that never say die attitude, and it does seem to be paying dividends at the minute. Coming in clutch with these games. Yeah, it is a shame about Man City and Newcastle not being able to pick up any points in that fixture. But it just goes to show how important the 3 points were for Arsenal today. Because if we were to drop points to, and I mean this with all respect, that one of the worst teams in the league at home, when your rivals are picking up 3 points against one of the better teams in the league, you do start to think, well, that's a big knock, isn't it? It's a little bit of a setback, that. So yeah, it's that is relief. That really is relief.
Yeah, it does also leave us 14 points clear of Manchester United, who are in third place, which is a massive gap. I know they've got 2 games in hand, but one of them is Liverpool away, who they're playing tomorrow. And Liverpool have been pretty good form recently, so that's not a guaranteed 3 points for them. So for us to be this far at the top of the table with a gap between us and second, and then a massive gap between us and third and fourth, it is really starting to look like we've secured Champions League football. I think there's no doubt about that now. I think we can pretty much start to say we've guaranteed Champions League football. And yeah, we can look to the future, and hopefully we can hold on, rotate our players, and be able to keep churning out these results, get as many points as we can in the next few games, because those on paper look like fairly decent fixtures for us. I mean, the one today did, but we made hard work of it. And then we'll roll on to the final run-in. But is there anything else you want to add on from today's game, or?
Nope, I think we've covered everything, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we move on. Arsenal getting another 3 points in the bag against Bournemouth. It made our hearts go a little bit. We made hard work of it. And I think, as you said, it was the 98th minute winner. Wow. You do not see that every day. Join us next time when we're going to do a post-match report against who we play next. I think it's Sporting Lisbon in the Europa League, isn't it? Yeah. So against Sporting Lisbon. So we may or may not do a preview for that show, but if we do, then we'll see you on that preview. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at @ArsenalRamble_, and then it's just Arsenal Ramble on YouTube if you want to catch us in video format as well. So until next time, see you later, guys.
Take care, guys. Bye.